This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you might have missed this morning, but we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 16th of June 2020 and I am 2J.
I'm JM.
And I am GK, and in case you missed the headlines, here they are. In the Daily Nation, COVID at State House. In the Standard, WAIGURU splits Raila men. And in the Star, Kalonzo, Gideon Moi tipped to join Uhuru's cabinet. Let us begin with the most topical of news.
Yes.
COVID at State House.
Oh boy. Yeah, so the Daily Nation tells us, close shave. President Kenyatta and his family reported to be free of corona, while 4 security officers who were found to be infected. So there was mass testing that took place on the Hill. They say that happened on Thursday last week. And thereafter, 4 guards who are supposedly very close to the president were then found to be positive with coronavirus. They have then been sent to hospital, and their family members and close contacts have been taken to isolation facilities. So first and foremost, all I have to say is I'm happy that State House addressed it. I'm happy they didn't try to hide it. They came out and they were honest about it, because at the end of the day, the reality is, as the CS for Health told us, anybody can get it, right?
You can get it.
I can get it.
Tomorrow on the beat.
Anybody can get it. You can get it. I can get it. Anybody can get it. You can get it. I can get it. Anybody can get it. You can get it. I can get it. Anybody can get it. You can get it. I can get it. Anybody can get it. You can get it. I can get it.
So, and then the thing that it's teaching us is that this pandemic has no logic. Whether you are a civil servant or an ordinary citizen, rich or poor, is coming, and you're at risk just as much as anybody else is. I really like the Daily Nation headline. It's short, to the point, and very catchy. And we have a 3-part criteria that we use to break down headlines. We ask ourselves, is it topical or speculative? Is it repetitive or groundbreaking? And is it thoughtful or just plain lazy?
I think it's a good headline.
I say we park it.
Yes.
Let us move to the Standard, where WAIGURU splits Raila men.
Yeah, so we are told that intense lobbying to save embattled Kenya Governor Anne WAIGURU has split Raila Odinga's allies. On Sunday, the National Assembly Minority Whip, Junaid Mohammed, indicated ODM was lobbying to save WAIGURU from being impeached. But yesterday, ODM Chairman John Mbadi dismissed the assertion as personal. But when the Standard contacted Junaid yesterday, he claimed Mbadi was not privy to the latest discussions in the party. So Junaid then requested to reach out to Mbadi before he could give a response on the apparent division in the party over Anne WAIGURU. And when he called back, the Suna East MP indicated that Raila would call Mbadi on the matter. And indeed, Mbadi then called the Standard to withdraw his earlier statement, citing a discussion with the party boss. And he said, and I quote, "I have had a fruitful discussion with the party leader, and it would only be fair to withdraw my earlier remarks."
These guys are giving the Standard free news.
Allow me to ask, should WAIGURU be saved?
It's a no for me.
I think she should be. I think she should be saved. She's a brilliant performer, and she has a brilliant track record when it comes to executing a vision and being loyal to her bosses.
But let me then ask this. I don't want to be rude or offensive, but there's something about this woman that rubs people the wrong way. And time after time, we've seen this. And I think it does honestly and very sadly come down to the fact that she's a woman. And I believe there's somebody who said this over the weekend. And it is unfortunate that it has come down to this. But I think if you compare it to other women who know how to hold themselves in a very patriarchal society that we can honestly admit. Somehow there doesn't seem to be a place for somebody like her, who's very abrasive, who's very brash, who some people say behaves like like a man where she shouldn't.
So she has to play nice in order to govern her country?
I don't think she has to play nice, but there's something that she is doing wrong. And I'm saying this honestly, admitting that we live in a very patriarchal society.
But this is the trademark of Kirinyaga women. In Kibaki's government, there was only apparently one man.
Martha Karua.
In cabinets.
Yeah.
Martha Karua. Period. Listen, this is their trademark.
Yeah.
And so this is who she is.
So why isn't
she's being
she
true to herself,
likable?
true to her women.
I don't think it's about being likable. I think she should be saved because I think she can deliver a BBI for Uhuru Kenyatta in Kirinyaga County. If the threshold is as low as 24 counties, Kirinyaga is an easy win for that. I also think that Raila has an opportunity here to sort of show his muscle in Senate and say, you know what, I can save her and she will owe me a political favor.
How many times does she have to be saved?
Absolutely.
No. Anyway.
I also think would we be saying the same thing about male governors?
Never. And I admit that and I know it.
Yeah, and who time and
absolutely.
again, when they are bullied by the MCAs, they just bribe them. It just never makes it to the headlines. So true. Waiguru has her work cut out for her. Let's see if she will be saved. Let's move to the Star.
Yes.
Where apparently there is about to be a cleaning up of house in cabinet, where Kalonzo, Gideon Moi are tipped to join Uhuru's cabinet. Among other notables are Isaac Ruto, Samson Mwathethe, and Charles Nchai, Peter Kenneth. I think the reality here is that this headline is a bit speculative. One thing I think we've come to know is that politically, Uhuru never lets you see him coming.
Yeah.
So we don't know when this will come, if it comes. What we do know for sure is that his cabinet right now has a lot of political dead weight.
Yes.
There's some CSs that do nothing for him in terms of mileage, and maybe he should reshuffle. Yeah, is my opinion.
Agreed.
So that is.
But based on that, I think we toss the Star.
Okay,
that feels on the criteria.
It has failed, but it is interesting.
Yes.
So we're left between the Daily Nation and the Standard. Is it COVID at State House or Waiguru splitting Raila's men?
I go with Waiguru splits Raila men.
I go with COVID at State House.
I
think
go
that
with
was the
COVID
most
at State House
picked headline today.
All right.
Yes,
all right.
straight and to the point.
Yes.
There we go. Nation gives us our winning headline. Onto the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country, where we also have a three-part criteria. We ask ourselves, is it humorous or dry? Is it satirical or pessimistic? And is it effective or just plain lazy? If we begin with the Daily Nation,
Yes.
where we have, it's a football scene. In the goalkeeper, at the goalkeeper's side, we have Uhuru Kenyatta. And he seems to be frantically waving and organizing his teammates.
Yes.
In front of him is his flank, I guess, the guy's protecting the potential penalty. And you have Raila Odinga, caricature of James Orengo. You have Mutula Kilonzo Jr., you have Nairobi Senator Sakaja Johnson, and he's holding maybe Chergai, and they're all in orange. And then you have
at the back. On the floor.
Yep.
On the floor, looks like it might be our sweetheart Anne Waiguru.
Oh.
A caricature of her as a football, which is quite hilarious. And then you have the people who might be taking the penalty, which is Murkomen. And he's perhaps talking to Kithure Kindiki. And I guess they're all strategizing.
They're strategizing.
Yeah, but at the end of it, will be able to save this goal, this ball that's coming towards them.
So what 2M explained to me is that during a penalty, the role of the goalkeeper is to organize the players who will, help to defend the goal itself. And so that's what the president is doing. He's getting his men in order to make sure that they don't kick our sweetheart
into the goal.
It
was very funny on Jula's
part.
Quite
effective.
Yes, and I really love the caricature of Sakaja. It really looks like him.
Accurate depiction. And Mutula Kilonzo Jr.
Exactly. Let us move to the Star, where we have Ozone, and he's drawn a caricature of none other than Raila Odinga. And here he's disclosing his coronavirus status. He's holding up his COVID-19 certificate very proudly. And on top of it, you can see a ballot box that has used up snot-infested coronavirus swabs. And the caption there is, it's painful, but I accept the result. So anyone who's done the test knows how uncomfortable it is. This is perhaps the only test that, results that Raila has accepted in a long while.
Yes.
But we applaud him. I don't know why he did it. Maybe it was just for PR purposes.
Yeah, possibly. This is the one play on words that I will accept from Ozone. It's painful, but I accept the results. It's very good.
So who do we give? And Standard didn't give us a cartoon today.
I love them both, guys.
I like them both as well.
So we give them both winning cartoons.
What a good start to the week.
Yes. Double wins.
Yes.
And what is our final thought?
And now, our final thought. In continuation this week, as we look at faith and the state around the world and throughout history, today we look at a book entitled Contentious Traditions, the debate on sati in colonial India, written by a young lady by the name of Lata Mani. So this book analyzes the debate on sati, or widow burning, that took place during early India and also during the colonial period. So sati, which is also known as sati, is a practice among some Hindu communities whereby a recently widowed woman, either voluntarily or forcefully, commits suicide as a result of her husband's death. The best known form of sati is when a woman burns to death on her husband's pyre, or the situation where he's burnt to death, burnt after death rather. However, other forms of sati exist, being buried alive or being drowned. Very graphic stuff.
Yeah.
So this is predominantly an upper caste Hindu practice, and it's understood as the duty of a virtuous wife, because they believe that by sacrificing herself, the widow enables herself as well as her deceased husband to enjoy heavenly pleasures, whatever that means, but also, according to some texts, to escape thereafter that cycle of life and death, because as we know, Hindus believe in reincarnation. So if you both die together, then you will not live on in that life and death cycle. So some of the historical context: in 1765, this was a very critical year when looking at colonialism in India. At this time, the British East India Company had made the move from being traders to becoming the de facto rulers of this land mass that we call India. And in the early 19th century, the British East India Company, as they were in the process of extending their rule into India, they began to tolerate this practice. At first, they said, we'll allow the communities to continue doing this. But as you have this influx of Europeans coming into India, this practice was being scrutinized more than ever, because you have missionaries, travelers, civil servants, all condemning this practice that they were so horrified by. So eventually, the Governor General of India, a man by the name of Lord William Bentinck, banned widow burning in 1829. And this was supposed to be announced as a key step for the emancipation of women in modern India. But the author, Mani, argues that women were burned, the women who were burnt were excluded from this debate, and that the suffering widow remained irrelevant to the debate as to whether she should live or die. And she argues rather that the real controversy that was actually happening here was, definitions about Hindu tradition, the place of ritual practices, the civilizing missions of colonialism, and just essentially how colonial actors should behave in their colonial states. And so this intervention represented this Western Christian sensibility where they were so horrified of these people being cruel to women. And so one interesting argument she makes is the different nature of British rule in India. She says that the colonial state embodied this intellectual thought to the colonial country. And it was different to the predecessors like Portugal and the Mughal Empire, who represented political but not this civilizational or cultural challenges. And she said that what it brought was this logic of discrimination and submission in a way that they had not seen before, even though at the same time it was kind of emancipating and giving women these rights that they had never experienced. Very interesting. I'd never heard of sati before.
And it's so scary. I had never heard of it as well, but it was interesting to say that you can choose to see sati as a woman choosing not to be a widow, which is quite empowering in a weird way. So interestingly, when I was reading the book, I was like, Mani is this feminist, or is trying to be a feminist and has this vision. But then every time she uses the term widow burning, I felt that she was silencing sort of a very significant point of view, the woman's point of view. And so anyway, I want to focus on the link between this widow burning and women's property rights, and why this practice may have continued for so long. So in Indian ancient law, it allowed the mother and son equal share in the property bequeathed by her husband when the husband died, or the father. Over time, these rights were then eroded. So widows were left at the mercy of their sons, their grandsons, and women without children were left at the mercy of the larger family. So you had to beg for your survival.
In-laws,
And so this weakness in women's property rights, she says, is what may have led to the continuation of this practice. So that you'd rather die or commit suicide than be at the mercy of your son or the larger family. And so she outlines two types of laws. So in Hindu, there's two patrilineal laws, the Dayabaga law and the Mitakshara law. And in the Dayabaga law, it represented this erosion of women's ancient rights.
Yeah.
But also it was in this area, West Bengal. And this area is where a lot of sati suicides were happening, compared to Mitakshara law, which was in the rest of India. And that one was more easier on women sort of succeeding and inheriting properties. So Mani's argument, therefore, was that this widow burning became the focal point of, a battle between this colonial and counter-colonial discourses. However, the suffering of the women we never really hear about. We only hear about it in relation to her ability to inherit or material things like that, right? So this abolition of sati made it seem like we're now starting to empower women, like Tujay was saying, but instead what we saw was we started to engender new forms of discrimination. So he says that only women who were middle class in the Indian caste received a little bit of the rights. The rest of the population of women who were poor were essentially left out and had no recourse in terms of these new sort of advantages that they were being given. And so she makes a main argument that it's not really a debate about sati and women's suicide, but it was actually a debate about a tradition, which I found really disheartening after all that. But that's what I took away from it. Women's property rights.
I'll give an eyewitness account told by a colonizer, or the wife of a colonizer. Her name was Fanny Parks, and this was in the year 1823, and she witnessed a sati burning episode. And so here goes the narration. So the lady says, a rich Hindu corn chandler, whose house was near the gate of our grounds, departed this life. He died. And a few hours later, the family came over to the widow's house, rejoicing that she had decided to perform the sati ritual. This was brought to the attention of the colonial magistrate of the area, who immediately summoned the woman and attempted to use every moral and Christian argument to dissuade her, but she refused. And the magistrate then resorted to Hindu customary law. He recalled that if a widow ate or drank from the time her husband died until she ascends to the pile, this is the cremation pile, she could not, by their law, be burned with the body. And so he kept the corpse 48 hours in the hope that hunger would compel her to eat. But she did not give in. So the colonizers gave up and decided to go and witness the ceremony. About 5,000 people, we're told, were collected together on the banks of the Ganges River to witness this, and they built a cremation pile and placed the body atop. The widow bathed in the river, walked around that cremation pile, set it on fire, and then mounted cheerfully. And the flame caught and blazed up instantly. While on fire, she repeated several times the chant, Ram, Ram, Sati, Ram, Ram, Sati, meaning God, God, I am chaste. But she was not for long able to tolerate the flames. So a short while after the ceremony commenced, she dismounted and went to the river to extinguish the flames.
Oh my God.
Eventually she succeeded. But when the crowds and the brothers of the dead man saw this, they called out, cut her down, knock her on her head with a bamboo, tie her hands and feet and throw her in again. But the magistrate intervened. And then he addressed her saying, by your own law, having once quit the pile, you cannot ascend again. The crowds left disappointed and annoyed at her escape, saying, it was a pity we should have lost the amusement of seeing her burnt to death.
Oh my goodness.
So had the colonizers not been present, we're told, the Hindus would have cut her down when she attempted to quit the fire, and they would have tossed her back into it.
Wow.
And so there we see, obviously this was a very long-held tradition of significant meaning. This was a young woman of in her mid-20s. But we see the sadistic nature of the multitudes. When people gather together, they pay for your blood, and they were there to witness this spectacle. They were there for entertainment, and that is why Jesus Christ said He never trusts the multitudes. They're never with you. They're there purely for the sake of entertainment.
Interesting.
But yes, a sad account about the story.
Very interesting.
Interesting story. So on a day where we had a winning headline from the Daily Nation and a winning cartoon from both the Star and the Nation, I want to leave you with this. As we look at faith in the state this week, Mahatma Gandhi once said, "Those who say religion has nothing to do with politics do not know what religion really is." So have a good evening, but also subscribe to our YouTube channel, find us on TV, we're on GoTV, Hang Free Chair, and Star TV.